So starting with this, write 3 names for the angle. What does the angle symbol look like? It kind of looks like an L, or like a less than sign, but similar to this. Whenever you name an angle, you want to name it like you're drawing it. So what is one way to name the angle? FGH, good. What's another way? So hold on. Which one? HGF. And then the last way to name the angle, angle G. You name it by the vertex, which is G. Perfect. The next one you won't be able to draw. We're just going to talk about it. It's a protractor. So we measured angles using this last week. So we have AOC. Are either of my rays at 0? No. Yes. Is 0 on the top or the bottom of one of the rays? The top row. So when I go to the other ray, I read from the top row. So how many degrees is this angle? 30. 30 degrees. We have BOD. Again, it's not on your paper. We're just talking. Sorry. BOD. Are one of these rays at 0? Yes. Is 0 on the top or the bottom row? Bottom. So we're going to read the bottom row again. It is 65. These are notes from Friday. All right, so how many degrees is this? Sorry. 65. What's the name of our last one? Well, it's not our last one. COD. Are either of these at 0?
No.
No. So you have to pick which one we want to read from, the top or the bottom row. You just pick, sure, the bottom. So this ray is at 150. What's my other ray at? 65. So then what would I do with these two numbers? Subtract them. So what's 150 minus 65?
85.
It is 85. Good. Now legit the last one. EOD. Are either of them at 0? No. So you pick a row, top or bottom? Sure, we can read the bottom. So this one's at 65 and 40. So then what's 65 minus 40? 25. Good. The last thing we review would be a picture that looks like this. It looks harder than it is. What did this M mean? This M up here? The measure. So the measure of AED is 34. So AED is 34. That'd be this angle. What do these arcs mean? It means what? Congruent. So everywhere that there's one arc, it's going to be how many degrees? 34. 34, 34, 34. And then the second portion, the measure of angle EAD is 112. So EAD is this angle. So everywhere there's 2 arcs, how many degrees is that going to be? 112. So 112 and 112. So using this information, we're going to answer the questions. Identify the angles congruent to AED. I'm trying to find a color that would work on this. AED. What is the vertex of AED? E. So how many degrees is at AED? 34. So we would name all of the angles that are 34 degrees. So we have this one. How would we name the angle I just highlighted? ADE. Could I have named it angle D?
Yes. No.
No, why not?
There's 2.
There's 3 angles. 1, 2, 3. 3 angles. So if I said D, we wouldn't know which one we were talking about. See, that's why we use the 3 letters. What other angle is congruent to AED? We're saying what? Yes, ma'am. BDC. All right, and then the last. Yep. Sorry, B's and D's sound similar. All right, and then angle BCD. Good. Identify the angles congruent to EAD. So what's the vertex of EAD? A. So we're looking at this angle up here where we have two arcs, 112 degrees. So we already named this one as 112 degrees. How do we name this angle?
BDA.
Sure, BDA. Angle BDA. And then the last one would be this angle up here. So what would we name it?
CBD.
Sure, angle CBD. Good. All right, last thing, find the measure of BDC. So we already have all of them marked. We just need to decide which one it is. BDC. So it's this angle right here. How many degrees is it, even though I kind of erased it? It's 34. And then ADB. ADB, which would be this angle, it is 112. Good. So we're going to keep moving in the section. Starting with page 4, you'll find this. So page 4. So you're going to fill in the blank and then we'll talk about it. If P is on the interior of angle RST, so I believe that's a blank. So if P is on the interior, what does interior mean? On the inside of angle RST, you're going to write this in and then I'm going to explain it to you. Okay? You actually know how to do this already. The measure of RSP plus the measure of PST equals the measure of angle RST. Go ahead and fill it in. We will talk about it. You actually did this with segments. Give me an easy-ish number.
3.
Sure. If this piece was 3, and this piece was, sure, 6, what would the length of the whole line be? 9. This is the same property, except for now it's with angles. So an easy example, if this angle was 20 degrees and this angle was 25 degrees, what would the measure of the entire angle be? 45, because 20 plus 25 is 45. So that's the property you just wrote down. Okay? So if this one was 36 and PST was 38, to find RST, you would add them together to get 74. Here's the second way I write it. It is in layman's terms. Do you know what a layman is? What's a layman? No. So, a layman. Ooh, I can't write. So at a job site, like a construction site, a layman is like the guy that doesn't have, like, credentials. They just clean up stuff. They don't really do very much. You know what I mean? They don't do difficult things. That's why it's in layman's terms. So in layman's terms, you want to write this down. What you're going to do is you're going to take the inner plus the inner, and it will equal the outer. So the inner angle plus the inner angle equals the outer angle. That's the best way I can dumb it down. Alright, let's do examples. So we have find the measure of JKL. Is JKL an inner angle or an outer angle? It's the outer, and you have both of the inner. So you're going to add the inner. You're going to add the inner. So 31 plus 85. So what's 31 plus 85? 116. So here's what you're going to write. The measure of angle JKL equals 116. And that will be your final answer. Number 5, we're given RSU. How many degrees is RSU? 91. We have an inner piece, which is 69 degrees. So how do I find what remains? I'm going to subtract. So 91 minus 69, we get 22 degrees. So you would say the measure of angle RST equals 22 degrees. All right. So these aren't any different. The only difference is that you don't have the numbers filled in. The reason we do these is some students still struggle with the names of the angles. Okay. So we're finding KLM. Is KLM an inner or an outer angle? It's the outer, so that's the one we don't know. We know that BLK is 26. And we know that BLM is 60. So what do we do with these two numbers? Add them together. What is 26 plus 60? 86. So the measure of angle KLM is 86. Last one, we're finding FGH. We're given FGB, which is 105, and BGH, which is 54. So what are we going to do with these numbers? Add them. Add them. Because we're looking for the outer angle. Oop, I missed a letter. So the measure of FGH will equal 159 degrees. We flip. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing. You're going to see these on your test and your quiz, and I'm going to tell you the number one thing that people get wrong is that they don't read the directions. Okay, so who can read the directions for us? Go ahead. You fine. Yes, sir.
Given that the measure of angle LKM equals 145 degrees, find the measure of LKM and MKM.
Good. So it's the same thing. We're going to do the two inner angles. Added together will equal the outer angle. In the picture, it looks like we don't know the outer angle, but the directions did tell me what the outer angle equaled. What is the outer angle? 145. So you still do the inner plus the inner equals the outer. So inner, so we can start with the LKM, which is 2x plus 10. Plus the other inner angle, which is 4x minus 3, will equal the outer angle. So what does the outer angle equal? 145. So problems that people have been having today, can you have an equation without an equal sign? If this wasn't here, would this be an equation? No. So there's no way to solve for x if you don't have an equation. So make sure you set it equal to the outer angle. We're going to do some algebra. We have 2x and 4x on the same side. So what's 2x plus 4x? 6x, good. 10 minus 3 is 7. All right, our next step. Subtract 7. Was that 138? Divide by 6. What does x equal?
13.
Close. How many times does 6 go into 13? Twice, with 1 left over. How many times does 6 go into 18? 3 times. So 23. Did it ask what x was? No. But it did ask for the measures. So what can I do with x to help find the measures? Plug it back in. So 2 times 23 is 46. Plus 10 will make 56. So you could say the measure of angle, what is that? LKM equals 56. That's one of my answers. Second one, 4 times 23 minus 3. What's 4 times 23? 92. Minus 3 is 89. What do we need to wait on? You said wait. Yeah. You good? What's a way I could check myself? I could add them together. What should I add up to? 145. Okay, so way to check. 56 plus 89 equals 145. All right. Move on to our next example. Given that angle KLM is a straight angle, find the measure of KLN and the measure of NLM. So what is the measure of our outer angle? How do you know it's 180? Because it's a straight angle. Good. So it will be 180. So we're going to go ahead and add the 2 inner. So 10x minus 5 plus 4x plus 3. And they'll equal 180. We have 10x plus 4x, which make 14x. Minus 5 plus 3. Negative 2. What do we do next?
You
Add 2. So we have 14x equals 182. Divide by 14. What do we get? You have a calculator. What do we get for x?
13.
13. Good. But it didn't ask for x, so what do we still need to do? Plug it back in. So 10 times 13 minus 5, we're plugging it in for x. 10 times 13 is 130. Minus 5 is 125. So the measure of angle, what is it? KLN is 125. Do the same thing over here. 4 times 13. What is it? Plus 3. What's 4 times 13? 52. Plus 3 is 55. So the measure of angle NLM is 55. So again, how do we make sure we did this correct? Yeah, what should they add up to in this picture? 180. Okay, and they do. The second, what is the only difference? It's a right angle. So what are they going to add up and equal this time? They're going to add up and equal 90. What else told me it other than the directions? What in the picture told me this was a right angle? Yeah, that little box thing. That tells me it's going to be equal to 90, or add up and equal to 90. So we do the same thing. 2x plus 2 plus x plus 1 equals 90. Combine the x's, we have 2x and x, which make 3x. And then 2 plus 1. Next step. Subtract 3. You're good. Divide by 3 and x equals 32. That's not 32. How many times is 3 going to 8? Twice with 2 left over. How many times is 3 going to 27? 9, so 29. I would plug it into the easiest place. Which one is the easiest?
H.
Yeah, HFG. Because when you plug in, 29 plus 1 is 30. So realistically, without even doing any math, what should the other one be? 60. But why would we want to do the math anyways? Yeah, just to check. We could be wrong. So you would do 2 times, what did we say? 29, which is 58. Plus 2 makes 60. So they're good. They add up to 90. Good to go. Ugh. All right, so we have one more thing to do together. My students today have not been separating these. They're 2 separate concepts. To use the inner plus the inner equals the outer, you have to know the outer. We're going to talk about bisect. We've talked about it before. What does the word bisect mean? Cut it into 2 congruent halves. So that's all we'll talk about that one later. An angle bisector, you're going to write this down. It's a ray that divides an angle into 2 angles, or 2 congruent angles if you want to shorten it. So you're writing this down. It's at the top line of your notes. It's right, we're on the next page. It's right here. So a ray that divides an angle into 2 congruent angles. It's at the very top. So you can say angles that are congruent, or you can say 2 congruent angles. So a ray that divides an angle into 2 congruent angles. Here are the 2 things you look for, and I would write them down because this is the most common mistake. Because it's so easy, people would rather do this, but they would get the wrong answer if they use it on the wrong problem. So, in order to know if an angle is bisected, there are 2 things to look for. And one of them is common sense, but we don't read directions sometimes. You're going to look for the word bisects, and I will make you write this down. So you're going to look for the word bisects. So you're going to look for the word bisects. You write it down. It sounds like common sense, but we don't always read the directions. The second thing you're going to look for are the congruent arcs. And I'll show you what that means. So you're going to look for the word bisects or congruent arcs. Sometimes it'll have both. Sometimes it'll have one or the other. So in this picture, it only has congruent arcs. What color are the congruent arcs? They're green. So if everyone sees them, I'll highlight them. Maybe. Yep, yeah, I'll highlight them. They're right here. Can anybody see they're not level, right? This does not have to do anything with their measure. Here's why they're not level. If it had one arc going across, this represents one entire angle, not 2 separate angles. So the only reason that they're unlevel is to show you that this angle is congruent to this one. There's 2 separate angles. So let's say this top angle is 20. What's the bottom angle? 20. So what would the outer angle be? 40. It's not a hard concept, but you can only use it if it's been bisected. So you look for the word bisect, or you look for these little arcs that we talked about. So I want you to take out your highlighter. You're going to highlight 2 things in this picture. You're going to highlight the word bisect in the directions. QS bisects angle PQR, and the measure of angle PQS is 24. Find the measure of PQR. The other thing I want you to highlight, what in the picture tells me that this angle has been bisected? The little arcs. So go ahead and highlight them. My highlighter doesn't work as well as yours does. Now we are free to answer the question. We're going to find the measure of PQR. If the top portion is 24, what does it tell me the bottom portion is? 24. So then what's the measure of the entire angle? 48. So the measure of angle PQR is 48 degrees. And that's the answer. That's all you do. But why could I say this bottom angle was 28?
Because it's
Because it's half, it says bisects, and because these arcs tell me that they're literally the same. Okay? In the last examples we do together, what tells me, because this is the bisected section, what tells me these angles are bisected? Because there's nothing on the picture. It says it. Let's go ahead and highlight it again. You think it's dumb, and it's simple because it says it. But when you're taking a quiz or a test or doing an assignment, if you don't read the word bisect, you're not going to get it correct. So, if it is bisected, that means that the measure of angle ABD is equal to the measure of DBC. Because that's literally the definition of bisect, that these two angles will be congruent to each other. They'll be equal measures. So here's what we do. In this problem, what is the measure of ABD? 6x plus 14, so that's what we're going to plug in. And then what's the measure of DBC? Yep, 3x plus 29. And we set them equal, so now we just solve. What's my smaller x? 3x, so I'm going to subtract it. So we'll have 3x plus 14 equals 29. What's my next step? Subtract 14. 3x equals 15. Divide by 3 and x equals 5. Do I circle that? No. What I will do is plug it back in. So plug it back in to my first angle, ABD. What is 6 times 5? 30 plus 14 is 44. So we're going to name it the measure of angle, what is it? ABD is 44. Oops. I'm making it smaller, sorry. Equals 44, so that's one of the answers. So technically, what should the measure of DBC be? 44. You should still check it. What's 3 times 5? 15 plus 29 is 44. So the measure of angle DBC is 44. Have I answered the question completely? What am I missing?
Outer.
Yeah, the outer. It did ask what ABC was. I'm sorry, then I'm out of room. So the measure of angle ABC, what are we going to get? 88. So I had one person ask me earlier today, they were like, this looks like a right angle. Can we assume it's a right angle? Why did it look like a right angle? Because it was really close to it. It was 88, right? You can't ever assume it's a right angle unless it has the word right angle, or what would it show in the picture? Yeah, that box. Okay, in geometry you can't just assume that it's a right angle unless you're told otherwise. Okay? We're going to go ahead and do some whiteboards. Go ahead and pass out your whiteboards. We're going to go back to the beginning. Not really the beginning, but kind of. You're going to do these one at a time. Do not overthink this. So what I want you to ask yourself, number 6, does it say the word bisect in the directions? No. Does it have congruent arcs on either of my angles? So are these two equal to each other? They are not. They also don't look equal to each other. See how this one looks bigger than this one? They're not equal. So we only learned 2 things today. They were either bisected, which we just said they're not, or we did the inner plus the inner equals the outer. Where am I going to get the measurement for the outer angle here? It's a straight angle. How many degrees is a straight angle? 180. Okay, same thing here. Does it say the word bisects? No. Does it have the little arcs that show they're congruent? No. So it's not bisected. We're going to use the property we learned earlier. Okay? It's correct. So you're going to go ahead and do one at a time. You're going to do this one. Raise your board when it's done, and I'll tell you if it's correct. The same thing with number 7. Yes, ma'am.
My thing is out of ink.
Already, it's the like 4th day of school. So you'll need to bring another one. Correct. So you move on to the next one. No. So you only set one angle equal to 180. You add them, then they equal 180. Good. Check your math. This part. That's correct. Good. Correct. Correct. Good job. Correct. So you're not going to add 180 to it. You're going to add this angle plus this angle, and it will equal 180. So you write them as they are. I know it's weird to have an x plus 20 and an x, but you write this plus this equals that. All right, so you set one equal to 180. They both need to be added together and then equal to 180. So you only have the left angle. You need to add the right angle to it. So what's the right angle? Not literally, but what is the angle on the right on this picture? Yeah, so you're going to add x, and then they equal 180. Yep. Oh, they're up here. Yeah, that's good. So if you want to take out a sheet of paper and start working on your homework till we have the next one. All right, so make sure you draw the diagrams. It'll be -3 apiece for everyone who don't do, and 3 times 14 is a lot of points. Okay, so make sure you draw it. I will see you tomorrow.